And of course, it's Tuesday. It's time to talk with Dr. Jamie Ronchetto from Cinema Veterinary Centre, located on Cinema Drive, right across the street from Church on the Way, I believe. Is that the one? Yes.
Yes.
Whew. It's like, you start talking, you realize, okay, mouth, I hope that the brain is matching up with that. Because, so yes, right there, an awesome location. I have been there. I am a happy, happy customer. And we're talking today now, in the summertime, of course, we talked about how we deal with the heat with our pets. But now, yes, even in Santa Clarita, we have winter. It's not so much today, but, or right this week in the daytimes, but we talk about the nights where it's getting colder. And yes, we do have cold temperatures, at least for us. And in some cases, actually pretty cold to be out and about in the daytime. So some of the things to talk about, especially with dogs, and the cold, and or what we're hoping maybe will be an El Nino with some rains this year. What do we want to think about, especially for those of us who like to have our dogs outside?
Yeah, so you want to think about the weather, and if it's really too cold for you to withstand being outside, then it's too cold for them too. It doesn't really much matter if that they have a fur coat or not. They still will lose body heat relatively quickly. We are lucky that here we have very mild winters, but even just going a little bit outside of our valley, Palmdale, Lancaster, anywhere up in the mountains where it gets even colder and they tend to frost overnight, get snow, even a little bit of snow overnight, it just gets way too cold for them to stay outside. So making sure that if they have to stay outside, give them ample shelter, give them extra blankets so they can kind of burrow and snuggle down and find extra warmth there. Make sure that their water dishes that are outside don't get frozen over. That's really important. And if at all possible, just bring them inside. That's
Right.
the safest thing.
Right. And so even with the fur coats, even if we think, oh, Big Max is fine out there, he's got his dog loo, we need to make sure that they are comfortable.
Exactly.
Now, what about cats? The same kind of thing? Or cats are sometimes, we know we don't want to let them out anyway.
Right.
But in some cases, they like to go roaming, and we want to try and keep that in mind with them as well, right?
Exactly. Same thing with kitties, and kitties are more of roamers if they're indoor-outdoor. They are pretty stealthy, and I'm sure can find warmer places, and they can squeeze into tighter spaces if they need to. But again, it's always best to keep them indoors overnight for other reasons too, predators and things like that, and then just keeping them warmer and keeping them safe.
Because predators get out in the cold looking for food and things too.
Oh,
and
yes.
You don't want your adorable little meow meow to end up not coming home. And that being said, though, if we notice, what are signs we look for if a pet is suffering from like hypothermia or something like that? Is it similar to humans, or is there anything different?
It is very similar to humans. They will lose body heat through their pads. The opposite, when they're hot, they try to sort of dissuade the heat through their pads if they get too hot, and they'll be panting. So the opposite with when they're too cold, they're going to be sort of tighter into themselves, not moving so much. They can certainly shiver just like people do when they're cold. So those types of signs, acting really lethargic, getting confused, not really responsive, those are certainly later on. And you want to feel their limbs, their ears, those places where they're going to lose heat quicker, and feel for their temperatures there, because they can certainly get frostbite.
I was just going to ask that, because despite the fact that they are covered in fur, you can get frostbite. And what people have to understand, even out here, even though we don't always get to that level, frostbite is very, very rare, especially in California. But there are other such things as frost nip. There is chilblain and things like that that can also cause issues with hypothermia and things like that. And so that's really important to understand. So
Yes.
At what point, now we would probably do something like keep them warm, put blankets on, whatever. At what point is it serious enough where we should take our pets into the vet if they've gotten too cold?
Yeah, definitely. If they're not really responding well just to warmth, bringing them inside, getting them covered with blankets, even hot water bottles or a heating pad, with covers on it just to make sure we don't burn them on accident. If they're not really responding to those types of treatments, then definitely get them seen by a vet immediately so we can make sure that there's no lasting damage.
Right, because organs and things start to shut down when you get too cold.
Yes.
And again, you don't have to be in freezing weather to let that happen. You just have to be exposed long enough.
Right.
And an overnight
is definitely
exposure
long enough.
in the winter, especially here, in the dead of winter, especially when we have our frostbite out there in the high desert areas, especially can be problematic.
Yes.
Oh, Dr. Jamie Ronchetto, you are always so informative. Cinema Veterinary Center located on Cinema Drive, cinemavet.com. And I will tell you, if you are if your puppy or a kitty or even exotic pet, as seen by Dr. Wheelbarger,
yes.
Tuesdays and Thursdays, is a client. When you go in, you can actually be on your online program where you can log in and see updates and things. Really awesome. Cinemavet.com, phone number 253-9300. Again, thank you so much for coming in. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.